Whether you're a Class 5 rafter or just looking for a couple of laughs, these two have you covered. Welcome to Aaron and Zach's Better Than Mediocre Rafting Show.
Aaron, Happy New Year, December 31st.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Zach.
Are you roasting a pig again for New Year's Eve?
No more pigs. We still have a little bit of it left over. We were having piglet burritos last night for dinner. We're gonna have some. Probably when the show ends, I'll have another one. So,
Sweet. Well, we have a big show today. I'm stoked. Hopefully you are. I have a lot of stuff planned. Hopefully not too much to make you yawn like last time, but I think I can.
I'm already yawning.
I think I can keep you entertained. Out inside's asking about what's reviewed today. I'll give you a quick preview. We're going to talk a little bit about learning progression that we've been doing, just kind of follow up with that. I have some video reviews I want to do about rescues. Then I want to do a contest. I'm super jazzed on the contest. And contests are fun. And we have members now. And I just want to point out Steve Harris is a new member. And just with members, you pay a few bucks a month, which to me, when people do that, it really means a lot to me. Probably you too, Aaron, that like you're willing to put a little bit of money behind what you're doing. We do spend a lot of money on the show, so it's not like we're taking that money and buying yachts yet. But it means a lot for those of you that have become members. Not that you have to. We're happy to do this. This is just fun for Aaron and I. But I'm trying to create value for those members. And so here's a good one. Aaron wants more card tricks. God,
no! Don't even bring that up. Thank goodness there's no cards in this hand.
I have the cards. I have the cards right there just in case. If you start boring me, I'll grab the cards. But those of you, the members, thank you. It means a lot. And we're gonna do some contests where everybody can play, but only members can win. Because I'm gonna send you something that costs me money. So that's about it on that. So, and then we're gonna finish up by talking about pre-trip talks, which we talked about last week. And that discussion, I felt kind of bad afterwards because, I kind of insinuated that you didn't need to do talks. And, I think that people say they're going to do them, but don't. And I think it depends highly on who you're going with. And most of my boating is with people I know pretty well. So our talks, if we do them, are very casual and very, very like one-on-one, not like, hey, let's get together. And the more I thought about that discussion, it depends on where you're coming from. Are you boating with people you've never boated with? Have some people never been boating? Like there's a lot of nuance to who you're going with and who you might give a talk to. So I want to give more definition to that, which is the main topic of the show. But before we do, I want to start with this. Come back to this. Remember this thing, Aaron?
Oh my God, the nerd flow. Yeah.
Well, I made some changes because I'm a very iterative person, right? Even with everything I do, I'm always trying to slightly get better and have discussions and improve. And so I changed. I remember I had Gear Garage here on online and in-person discussions. Can you see my cursor right now?
Yeah, barely, but yeah.
So like right here, I just turned it to online and in-person discussions, right? You can learn a lot like through this coming from just talking to people, right?
Yeah.
So you can practice, but just talking. And online discussions could be Mountain Buzz. It could be one of our shows. It could be whatever. The other thing is I rearranged this a little bit. I put first aid above whitewater rescue. And so I think I had those swapped last time. So just based on our discussions, I fixed that. So what do you think?
I think it looks great. I think that's, those are like the first aid, whitewater rescue first, I think first aid makes more sense before that. And then, I think it's good that you don't have on there have like, watching Gear Garage. Or whitewater?
Yeah, that was I think. Oh, you know what that is? That's a Reddit. Our whitewater is a Reddit. Do you ever use Reddit, Aaron?
Very rarely. I have. I've used it a little bit. But
it's a Reddit thread. I got sucked into some discussions about oar tethers the other day on it, and it's kind of angry over there. It's a great place to have discussions, but some of the stuff gets just like people are kind of rude. I felt like I got treated kind of rudely. On Reddit, but there's a Reddit whitewater area that's, it is what it is. I think Mountain Buzz is a little bit more polite, although Mountain Buzz is a dumpster fire sometimes too. But thanks for the suggestion, Zach. But just online, you can so what I'm saying is like there's classes and training you can do, official classes, And throughout that progression, go out and practice and get experience and continue like having discussions, whether it's a club meeting, it's at a put-in, just hanging out, or a shuttle drive, or through podcasts and online, different online things. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I mean, where would you put going and paddling for somebody else on the whole thing?
I mean, this is where I think that you and I come at this a little different, because I'm in back of my brain.
Are you rowing?
I'm rowing. I think most private boaters are rowing, right? And so I don't think there's a lot of paddle boaters. I don't think most private boaters want to learn to paddle boat.
I think you're just blowing off a huge.
I'm sure I am. I'm sure I'm blowing off a huge section of private boaters. I wouldn't say paddling for somebody. I'd say paddling with somebody. Right? Like
I think both. I agree.
I think
paddling with is good too, like the R2
sitting in the front of somebody's boat who's a really good guide. I just don't think that's like a thing that many people are set up to do, because there just aren't that many private paddle boats. Now on the South Fork, sure, people are private, but people aren't doing stuff in people aren't doing
you mean the whole East Coast, Zach? Or isn't the whole East Coast pretty much
they paddle boat, but it's like this. It's like they're doing the same thing over and over. They're not like trying to improve to run harder stuff. It's not like California where we learn on the South Fork. They're just doing it because they want to take their friends down the Nolichucky, or their friends down the South Fork, or their friends down the whatever. There aren't paddle teams out there like, hey, let's get better and privately paddle boat harder rivers. I think people are R2ing. And so I think what you're saying is like, go be a paddler for somebody who's a Class 5 guide and learn their tips and tricks. I think that's sick if you're a commercial guide and you want to get better at commercial guiding paddle boats. I think most private boaters aren't, like, paddle boating is not their main focus. When they want to improve, it's so that they can go run.
I feel like, Zach, we've already shown that your statements here are incorrect. Like, everyone's going to get on again and start talking about, here we go. This is what's going to happen. This is what happened last time. Is everyone's going to say, no, there's a lot of people who are interested in paddle boating. And I think
they are. Here's what I think they're interested in paddle boating so they can take their friends down a Class 3 run. There's not that many people like private boating, paddle boating. Like, let's get the 6 of us together and go run the Wind, or go run North Fork American even, or Tuolumne. It does happen, but it's usually somebody who's already a guide. It's not like somebody who has only private boated, bringing people together to like go do some adventure.
Well, how many private boaters go run the Wind who haven't been commercial boaters, or go row the North Fork American?
And I never see paddle boats on the Wind. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but we rarely see paddle boats on the Wind. It's always R2s and cat boats, right? Where I boat in the Northwest, and Mark's
so you're not even talking about rafts. Then you're not even talking about rafts.
What do you mean?
You're saying you're cat boat. You're talking about cat boats. So people aren't even rowing rafts. You're saying it's R2s and cat boats.
Oh, come on. You know we're not antisocial, Mark. When Mark came out here from the East, like we went out of our way to like show Mark around. Like, because that Mark's awesome. And we're like, dude, you're here. Let's go boat. You know that we're not antisocial. But I think most people who, and this is my worldview, it might be limited, although I have boated a lot of places around the world. So it's not like I'm only a West Coast boater. I think their goals are to learn to boat, to either like push the limits, go run like hard Class 4 or 5, or to do multi-day trips, go do a rogue trip, do a Middle Fork of the Salmon trip, maybe a Selway trip. And those people it's overnight, so they're typically rowing. So I'm going to say that most people are learning to row. See, Aaron. But you're right. Some people do want to get better at paddle boating. They do, but it's not your thing of just jumping a boat with somebody really good isn't here. And honestly, Aaron, do you want to be that person?
Who? What? Which person?
Do you want, like, when you come to, let's say you come to Oregon, right, and come boating with me? Hey, hey, Aaron, do you want to take a paddle boat so these 2 people can learn from you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love taking paddle boats. I love taking paddle boats.
Yeah.
And I think,
so I know.
and I would say this is like as long as I would be like, as long as they know how to paddle, as long as they're decent paddlers and they'll listen to me. And I wouldn't want to do an R3 because R3 stink. But if you had 3 people or 4, yeah, I would. That's super fun. I love taking paddle boats.
Yeah.
Paddle boating with a good crew is my favorite thing to do.
So Aaron, and I knew you'd say that, but not everybody wants to go boating and be a mentor all day.
Oh, Zach, I'm not saying everyone does. I'm just saying I think I just look at my skills, and a lot of my improvement came from paddling for other people, getting in a raft with them and seeing how they handle things.
No, that's true. But you're coming.
I remember when we went with Bubba, and Bubba was like, right river, left river, bring her around. I was like, keep her steady. I was just like, my mind was blown. I never even thought about running a raft like that.
But Bubba's not a paddleboat guide. First of all, Bubba's not a paddleboat guide.
Yeah, but it worked really well and it was really fun.
He made that up.
I know, but
I've
used it for years.
Going to paddleboat. He's a rower who's like you didn't learn anything from Bubba. You just learned
left river. I do that all the time, particularly when I'm rafting with kids now in paddleboats.
Yeah,
it's
fun, but
left river,
it's not
right river.
Whatever. All right. We have this discussion all the time, Aaron. I think people who are guides have an impetus to learn how to be better paddle guides. I think most private boaters, and I'm making a bold statement here, aren't trying to improve their paddle boating techniques. They're trying to improve their rowing, their R2ing, their duckying.
I think the Zach part of it is
gear boating, cap boating.
Well, I think the R2ing is a nice little subset, but I think a lot of people also, they just don't see an avenue. They don't know what to do to improve. And I think it's also scary going on harder paddle boating.
No, the problem is
taking your friends on harder rivers is a little bit of an intimidating step to take.
It's a lot of responsibility. It requires more boat safety because you have more people that could swim. But I think the thing is, it's really hard private boating to go find 4. Like you said, you don't want 2 people. You want 3 paddlers, not 2 paddlers. So you have to find exactly 3 or 4 paddlers, not 2 paddlers, not 1 paddler.
No, one paddler is fine because you can R2 or 3.
But if 2 come, you're like, I'm not going. And so the problem with paddle boating, the problem with paddle boating as a private boater is you have to find people to come. And let's say you have 3 and so bails because his dog got lost that morning. You then have the 2.
And you can do it. That's fine. That's just not what I would get more people to go. I'd be like, tell them if they like, hey, I really want to paddle.
So
I'd be like, grab an extra friend. Find another friend to come.
It's so hard. Yeah, I think it's hard. Anyway, people understand we disagree with this, and I'm sure people
but
are
I
watching.
Think, Zach, one of the things that I'm hearing though is I just don't think there's a structure in place to help people make that progression per se. And I think that's one of the big problems with it is there isn't. I think a lot of people who take their friends down the South Fork American would love to take their friends down the Tuolumne or the North Fork American.
I don't think
they
there's
don't
demand
have the
for
skills.
But anyway, it's fine. Aaron, you can take your Lake Tahoe Community College River Guide course. It's the perfect place to get the skills. So you're basically having this discussion. That's
a beginning school, and that's designed for people who haven't. But that's not the purpose of it.
But I just don't personally think there's the demand where people want to learn how to row. And let's stop. I'm tired of this discussion. I want to move on.
I agree with you about the learning to row, but I think there's a fair number of people who do want to paddle boat, and I think even on Grand Canyon trips. Most people are rowing, but you do see paddle boats.
Nobody's private boating the Grand Canyon. That's just insane.
And paddle boat. Yeah,
no way. See them.
Yes.
No, you're making now I know you're making things up. That's not correct. Hey, Aaron, don't. Hey, let's move on. I want to talk about some things. Okay. So remember this right here. Oh, great. I got Todd Hoffman's got a comment I have to deal with. All right, Todd, let's go. Let's dance. 20% paddle boats. I'm surprised it's that high.
What's 20% paddle boats?
20% paddle boats. Todd's saying in Idaho, 50% cat, 30% oar raft, 20%.
Yeah, and I think
that's higher than I thought.
You've got your little bias from your snobby Oregon, Columbia River Gorge friends that only cat boat and R2 and don't do anything else. Yeah,
Aaron, I leave the gorge. I paddle in Idaho quite a bit. We really don't. On the Middle Fork, we see people paddle boating, right? But they're not private boaters. They're commercial guides who learn to private boat, who they have that skill from guiding. But
they still do it as a private boater.
it's pretty rare, I think. But it's you don't see many private boaters paddle boating on the Middle Fork. You see a few here and there. But Mark Todd, thanks for adding this. Thanks for that's good. Kind of makes Aaron's point a little bit, so it's frustrating to me. Hey, so let's move on because we've had this debate before. So we're back to this thing we've been working on, and I want to just point out one thing I added was number on the right side, number 5, I believe 6. No, 4 is pre-trip safety talk / demonstration. So after our last discussion, recognizing that being able to give a pre-trip safety talk is an important skill for boaters to have.
Wait, so where's that show? Can you use your little cursor and put over the top of that?
Yeah, can you see this right?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You see that? I just highlighted it.
Okay.
So, and we had this discussion last time, and I think you made some good points that like it's a worthwhile skill to teach all boaters to do a pre-trip safety talk demonstration. And it's not just a commercial guide thing, that it's something that should be taught in our courses. So, I've added that to this based on our talk last week and I thought about it a lot this last week, and I'm going to add it to our courses. Like I see the value in it now, and I'm going to add it to our online course too. I'm going to do a video about how to do it for our online course. So I see the value of that for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, hold on. This is annoying me.
Are you trying to bring us some video?
Yeah, paddle rafting Grand Canyon video
footage. I'm sure somebody's done it, Aaron. I'm sure somebody's done it, but
but anyways, going back to, I think, Zach, one of the other things that I think you've taught a lot, and like when you teach something, you learn it way better than if you just like listen to it. Yeah. And so by doing a safety talk and going through that process of doing a safety talk also, I think even if you never give one going forward, I think it's going to make you internalize the knowledge a lot better, and it requires you have a better understanding. If you're explaining it to somebody else, then you're like, oh, wait, do I do this or this? And then you're thinking about it a little more depth. So I like that as well. Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to get hammered here. I agree. I think.
What does Nate have to say, Zach?
All right.
Oh, no. So, Zach, did you ever go to the Feather Fest?
Yeah. I went to the first two.
Weren't there a lot of paddle rafts on the Feather Fest?
No. Maybe they were like when it first started, when we went like whatever it was, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I went last year or 2 years ago. Last time they had it before COVID, it was all R2s. There's some creature crafts. There weren't like, I'm sure there were some paddle boats, but people are R2ing nowadays. Oh,
there he goes.
Paddle captain.
So he was rated paddle captain.
Yeah.
He wanted to.
But Sean, are you going to go take a course in paddle boating to get better? Are you going to go paddle for Aaron?
Well, then if you're going to ask Sean that, is Sean going to take a course to get better at rowing as well? I mean, you got to ask the other question on the other side of the coin too. You can't just ask one without the other.
Yeah, that's true.
You're going to ask one person.
Your logic is sound today. Your logic is sound. But I think I'm sure that there's now that I've been disproven, I'm sure there's some people who want to learn to paddle boat and get better at it. So it's not, let's go back to this thing, because I have to go back to this thing now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get back to your original question. So the question where I just, I mean, this is the other thing is he has the skill. He already learned it. Like he learned a commercial guiding. My point is, I don't think there's people who were not commercial guides who want to learn to paddle boat. I'm sure there's some.
One of my high school buddies on his own. He goes up on the South Fork every year.
I'm sure there's some.
I can name multiple people I know.
Cool. You probably do. South Forkers are really good at that.
I'm gonna say when I was a kid,
there's way more people that want to learn how to row than I'm gonna change my statement. Way more people want to learn how to row than paddle boat.
You're right. I agree.
Done. Okay. So going back to this,
there's still enough. It's a significant number that they need to be thought about, and they need to be included in this, and they can't be ignored in your little flow charts.
Aaron, first of all, this flow chart's full. Like I don't have room for anything else. So I can't just put like, for you 1%ers that want to paddle boat.
Rowing / paddle school, paddle rafting school.
Paddle rafting school doesn't exist. You have to go to a guide school. But what I want to do, actually, Aaron, I've been thinking about is taking this private rafting side and making a whole page about this.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Right. So, because right now, like I'm sharing room with kayak. Like I'm trying to, I only have room for so many things. So I'm keeping.
I think we should just take the kayaking off of there.
Well, and professional guiding too, because I want to make this purely about private boater instruction. Professional guiding is a little more complicated than this as well. Yeah. But I'd love to make one that's like very private rafting oriented. That's like, hey, what track do you want to go down? Do you want to learn how to because there's different tracks. Do you want to be a multi-day person or do you want to go row class 5? There's 2 different tracks.
Or maybe you want to do all of it.
Yeah, or maybe, that's probably true. But like whether you go do class 5, you may not need to rig a gear boat. Versus the Rogue, you probably need to learn how to make Dutch oven brownies, or whatever. Like there's different knowledge. So I think I want to expand on this, and maybe that's a discussion we can pick up later instead of bickering about whether people want to learn a paddle boat as private boaters, which is just, I don't know, it's just insane. I don't know what you're thinking. Okay, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you've frustrated me. All right, so we're going to watch some videos of some rescues. We've been talking a lot. This all got started. We've been talking a lot about rescues lately. And so I want to continue that theme. Turn the volume down. Of rescues and what rescues look like in real person.
Can you turn down the volume a little more?
Yeah, sorry. Hey, before we finish this, I mean, that's I think I agree. Totally. I love paddle, but by the way, I love paddle boating. If I could go do the wind and have a crew and paddle raft them down, that's probably the most fun I could have boating. I just don't want to organize a bunch of people. It's a massive amount of work. It's more people to shuttle and to dress and all the things.
So. But it also takes, and you should do a safety talk if you're doing that.
Oh, 100%.
If you're all rowing your own boat, there's kind of this attitude like, well, you row your own boat, so you know what you're doing. So there's not, people rowing their own boat aren't going to sit around listening to someone else give a safety talk in general.
We're going to get to safety talks because I think that's a separate
thing. Great.
That's definitely on the docket for today. So let's go. Oh, there we go. Look at that layout.
Whoa.
Yeah. Let's watch this video. And again, we're on the topic of rescues in general right now. And I think when people think of rescues, they all think about Z-drags. And I want to make the point that real rescues kind of happen like boat bait. And when you think of a Swiftwater rescue class, they're thinking rescues are live bait, throw bags. When like most rescues that we manage whitewater wise, maybe not most, but a lot of them, a high amount of them are being done by other boats.
Oh, I'd say most, Zach.
Okay, you can say most. I don't know.
I'd say by far away most. Or the same boat that the person fell out of. It's a raft rescue. Yeah. That's like the majority of rescue. And that's the kind of what we were talking about before is like spending time doing that seems to be helpful.
Yeah. So like we're going to see an accident here in a minute. And like nobody on their tethers is going to save the day here. This isn't like tie me onto a rope and throw me in, coach. This is what real rescues look like. And
did they flip already, or we're going to see them?
We're going to see it. And that kayak, I believe, is a safety kayaker. Just so you know.
Oh, they're over. Yep, they're all swimming. Oh, they're doing. Most of them are doing a pretty good job swimming towards shore. Nice swimming. Nice swimming. Everyone let go of their paddle.
I think this is an
interesting conversation.
By the way, I think this is a guide boat. Because you look who swam, they all have like their own PFDs and helmets.
Or a private group of rafters, Zach.
It could be, although it looks like a company boat, right? I think I saw a logo on the side of that boat. Let's go back. I forwarded it. Sorry, I think, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But I want to make there's a logo on the side.
You mean that says NRS?
No, there was like a company logo on the side. See?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. This is the classic. I feel like you pull people in, you're spinning around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little out of control. Yeah, they're pulling someone else in. Guide's pulling someone else in, so he's not guiding. They're doing a great job getting people in.
Yep.
And it's bumpy, but it's not like, oh, grab that paddle.
Blue Puma. I don't know what river this is. It's in Colorado. It looks, I mean, to me as a commercial guide, this looks terrifying because it's so continuous. And do you see the swimmer way downstream? They're getting to that. Yeah, they got to that boat. Like this is, to me, pretty dangerous because it looks a little high. It looks cold. And the river just goes and goes and goes. And if a swimmer gets ahead of the group, it's really scary. And so to me, this is...
They're doing a pretty good job of managing it. And it looked like they were waiting for that boat to come down as well.
They're waiting for the upside down boat.
Yeah, they were waiting in the eddy for it. You know, the safety kayaker was, they were all waiting for it.
My only issue with that, let's go back to that, is I feel like, let's go back to where the problem happened. Oh man, I'm all over the place. I think this is it. Is that the safety kayaker in that eddy? I have to find out where this was again. The safety kayaker is sitting in the eddy, and the safety kayaker is just yelling, like, come to me, come to me, come to me, or swim to the left. But the safety kayaker should have gotten out in front of them and been like downstream safety. Right?
Yeah.
So see the safety kayaker is just hanging right there. Like, as soon as the safety kayaker sees the flip, I think that safety kayaker, I don't think telling the people what to do is going to help that much. I think that safety kayaker needs to be out in front of all of them. And this boat should be already out of the eddy, because this boat, I mean, now all these people have passed him. And so
I think that's the classic problem too, though, is that, but there's other boats downstream, so maybe not. I mean, it depends, you know, like if the farther downstream boat's going to pull out, I can see both ways. I'm going to say the boat on the other side does not look ready to pull out of the eddy. They look deep in the eddy on the other side, and they don't look like they're in a good spot to pull out of the eddy.
To me, this is where, like, we can learn about this stuff, but it comes down to practice. Like, you have to practice your timing, practice what to do. And so this raft needed to be like, they're in the eddy, which is great, but they need to be ready to pull right out in front of these swimmers so the swimmers don't pass them. And to me, a safety kayaker is the last ditch downstream effort, right?
Yeah.
And so now maybe the safety kayaker is waiting there because there's more boats behind coming down. But I think the safety kayaker, and he's pointing to get over to the side, which is great. Like, he's pointing what to do, but there's swimmers that went past that raft. And if
the next raft wasn't ready. Yeah.
Yep. And so now what we have, this is what you don't want. You don't want any swimmers past.
And you can see two of them are downstream.
Yep.
And then this is the classic too, is it looks like that guy just focused on rescuing the raft.
Which doesn't matter.
Yeah. Instead of rescuing, is that the Vorjaks? Is that who that is?
I don't know. It's not. That's not. It's something descents.
A descent. Instead of rescuing the swimmers, which is, I think that is sketchy right there. What just happened? You're right.
I really don't like swimmers ahead of the boat. So like, if it was me, those boats, and this comes from practice, right? You can't just be told what to do. And then when a flip happens, you're like, it takes you a while to process it. And by the time people are past, you're like, oh, I got to get out in front of them. It's really hard to catch up with swimmers sometimes. And especially if somebody's like out of shape and overweight. And this comes to the safe. I think this is important for the safety talk, because also watching these guys paddle, this crew is not paddling that well.
So Zach, we're spending an awful lot of time talking about paddle rafting.
Jesus, Aaron. I'm not saying I don't think people should. The same principle can apply to anything.
I agree. I totally agree. I think one of the things, Zach, though, I think everyone wants to be the hero when you're guiding a raft. There's this desire to be the hero. And the hero is not the person who pulls out way downstream and just sits downstream, steps back, and makes sure nothing gets downstream of everyone else. The hero is the one who gets in there, rescues the raft, rescues
in the middle of it.
People in the middle of it. Yeah, they want to be in the middle of it. And I think that's the part that I think is, mountain whitewater descent.
There's no point in saying the name of the company, Aaron. There's no point.
No, the guy just put the name up. That's cool. That's okay. So we know where they were. I was just more curious.
Somebody in the comments.
Someone in the comments. Yeah. No, I was just more curious, like where it was, and like, you know, like Like, this company, so I could figure out what river it is, because it looks like a fun stretch of river.
I mean, it looks scary to me. It's just so continuous. I mean, if a swimmer got ahead of you, now there's another boat way down here, which I'm guessing. So like if swimmers came by,
yeah, no, it looks like the same company boat. Yeah.
I don't know if it is because it doesn't pull out with them.
Yeah,
it looks like they're at a put-in.
Maybe they're waiting for the raft.
Maybe, but like I think if swimmers came by, look at how long somebody could swim here.
Yeah. And I think the other problem too is once the boat that we're in picks up some swimmers, they lose mobility. You know what I mean? They're just not very mobile at that point. They're so heavy. And so you're not going to be able to pick other people. They're keeping more and more rafts downstream, which is interesting. And they seem to all be yellow and blue rafts.
Yeah, I think these rafts are part of it. Yeah. But anyway, like as always, we nitpick things.
Where is he rushing to save? How is he? He's running down the
Oh, to get that raft. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna jump out?
Why not just?
Well, somebody's on it right now trying to flip it.
What?
Maybe he has a throw bag. Maybe he's a throw bag.
The raft just flipped over.
I bet Casey had a throw bag to throw, like the person to flip the raft and I don't know, throw bag because he was wearing a waist throw bag there. But as always, we nitpick this whole thing. It's just like little details just to go over. But I mean, that's a pretty effective rescue, right? Like they had a boat.
This boat did a great job. I felt like this boat did a great job of picking up swimmers. I would have liked to have seen a boat stay downstream of all the swimmers. And I think you're right. Like if this boat had pulled out into the current right away instead of kind of trying to catch them time and just been sideways to the current, those people would all cut up.
Just pull, like be a downstream catcher's mitt. And that safety kayaker too. That safety kayaker could have been like if one person's unconscious or loses the ability to swim because they're cold, that safety kayaker is the downstream safety mitt.
And I'll say, we've all been on trips where this has happened to us, where people have gone downstream. We didn't pull out the eddy fast enough. It's not like this hasn't happened to us as well. It's just more like, and when that happens, you debrief at the end of the day, you're like, man, we messed up there. And we got a little lucky that things didn't get worse. So, like that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's nothing like against them in particular. Like this stuff does happen. And I think that's why we need to practice it so much is because like, okay, it takes you longer to set up a Z-Drag because you don't know how to do the rope system. Who cares? But you're late pulling out of the eddy. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that you really want to practice. What is reach, throw?
Reach, throw, row, go, I think.
Oh,
like reach for the person, throw a bag for the person, row to them, and then go. I think go.
Yeah, that's like the Boy Scout thing. Reach,
this is like it's a lifeguard thing, and this is where, but this is also the problem with this mnemonic. And goes back to the discussions we've been having is this comes from the land-based rescue thinking, right? Like if you're on land, reach for them, then throw something, but from a whitewater perspective, from like river-based rescue, we're not going to throw before we row. We're going to row.
Totally. And Andrew says the same, right? He switched the order. Yeah. Row and reach are like, those two are like, reach. You can reach.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah. Row. Yeah.
Denise, I have no idea. I'm curious too if anybody knows. It's ACA. I mean, and I think if you look at the ACA curriculum, it's based on it's a land. I know it's intended for whitewater rescue, but it is called swiftwater rescue, which to me is a land-based approach to rescue. When you look at the curriculum, in my opinion, it's very land-based. Right? I have to look at it. I don't remember seeing, like, I'm sure flips is in there somewhere, but like it's anyway.
The Cash La Poudre, I think.
Oh, cool. How'd you know that?
Yeah. I just looked, that's why I wanted to find the company name. I looked up the company and that's what they run. Yeah.
All right. Here's another example. Oops, let me turn the volume down.
Is this the same river? No,
different river. So this river is way more, to me, way less scary because it's very pool drop.
Yeah.
So John's saying he's pretty sure it's the Pooter. The only wild and scenic river in Colorado, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, so that last river is really scary to me because it's so continuous. A swim is kind of scary. Here, you'll see it's very pool drop. And notice the front paddler is awful. Like they could train their paddlers better, but that's a side thing.
This, yeah.
So the boat flips, and they're all holding on to the upside down boat, which I think is a good thing.
I'd say on this run, it's a great thing. High water, that's a great thing. Low water, junky, where you run into rocks and stuff like that, and not sure.
On that last time, would you want them holding onto the raft?
I think initially it'd be great. Well, once they got to that pool, yeah, because then it's easier to rescue them all because they're all in the same place. So that part's nice.
So here they're this guy just pulling in swimmers. There's a nice safety net out in front of them.
It's kind of funny how the IRF talks so much about holding onto your paddle when you swim for guests, because it's different in other countries than here. But everyone we see, they're just like all the paddles are just ditched and they're all floating.
It's such an IRF thing because paddles are hard to get a lot of places.
Yeah, totally.
So if you lose your paddle, you're in India, you can't just get more paddles. That's less of a safety thing and more of a. That PFD looks a little bit.
Yeah, this looks like Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so to me, you have all these boats. They're surfing, like they're going in there to maybe flip on purpose, and that boat flips. And I love this person is like, oh, I need to get right out in front of it, and they immediately paddle out in front of it.
Yeah.
This to me is rescue. Like this timing. Look at that. That timing is great. There's a boat on river right in case it flips. There's 2 boats ready to go. They're able to get in front of the boats. It looks like they had a good safety talk, so they knew the passengers knew what to do, like grab the perimeter line.
They had a plan.
They had a
They had a plan. And the last one they had a plan too. They were trying to swim to shore, and it looked like they were trained to swim to shore in the last one, which is also a good plan. I think just giving people something proactive to do, not just float on your back downstream and hope to rescue.
Yep. All right. I have one more video. I think I already showed you this video in the live show before, Aaron. We already went over this potentially. Wait, here we go. This is a rescue I was involved with on the Wind.
Yeah, I think I remember this one. Yes, your cool setup. Your Mustang.
So here a kayaker swims, and so I don't want to brag, but my timing here, which is pretty perfect, you have to admit, like get out in front of them so they come to you, and then get the swimmer in the boat. But there's some interesting dilemmas here, Aaron, with this. If you go back, there's more kayakers still coming. So I yelled to Brody, I'm going to get the swimmer, you get the kayak. Do you think Brody should stay in that eddy and provide safety for the other kayakers, or go get the kayak?
I think I don't see why you don't just get the kayak at this point. You're so close to it. Just get the kayak.
Well, you'll see, it's hard to do, but
and then he's by himself. It's really hard to rescue a kayak when you're by yourself on a raft.
Yeah.
That's really hard. So I would say I would want you to do. I'd be kind of annoyed if you were Brody. I'd be like, come on, Zach. Especially when I'm way up there. I'm like, you're down there. Yeah, okay. What am I?
Well, no, I said it when we were in the eddy.
Okay.
Right here.
Oh, I thought you said like when you're drifting down.
No. Right here.
You get the kayak.
Right here. I'm like, I got the swimmer. You can get the kayak. Because I'm like 100%. All I'm going to focus on is the swimmer. I'm going to let the kayak go. I have no delusions I'm going to get both. I'm like, I'm going to go get the swimmer. And Brody makes a decision to stay there. And I mean, that was the right decision, I think. I think he starts to go, and then I think he realizes, you know what? Zach got the swimmer. The kayak isn't a priority. There's more kayakers coming that could swim. And so I need to be there to save him. So that's the first dilemma that we had that I thought was interesting. I want to point out in this rescue, at this point, the rescue is done. Right? It's done. Do you agree? We pulled the swimmer in. All that's left is equipment recovery.
Sure. I like the way you're approaching it. Zach, so were you on this trip with the kayakers? Were they part of your group?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I would have him wait.
Yeah, and Todd, and so Todd,
if they aren't part of your group, then I probably wouldn't. And yeah,
that's interesting. You and the guy you picked up should chase. So this is interesting. So
that's
yeah,
another interesting conversation.
It depends on who the boaters are too. Like if it's a bunch of Class 5 kayakers, maybe not. But the boaters with us, another one, there'd already been 2 other swims. So my first reaction though is like, I got the swimmer, you get the boat, right? That's just in my mind what I'm doing. Brody made the right decision to say, hey, no, I'm good here. I'm going to take care of people. The next debate though is, do we now pull over here and wait, or do we chase the kayak?
That's a good question. And there's no right answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, or I should say there's a lot of right answers to that. Like, yeah, I think that stretch really well. The 2 people in your boat, and it's just like how comfortable you feel. You're like, yeah, this is fine. I feel comfortable doing it. Or if you don't, you're like, no, we're gonna let your kayak go, bro. And then you know what's downstream too. You're like, oh, okay, it's just gonna eddy out in that huge pool down there, and we're just gonna get it. So it doesn't really matter.
But we have to run this rapid. So do we chase the kayak, which is again equipment recovery? It's not a rescue. We have our person. Do we chase the kayak and go? We're basically a 1-boat trip now. There's 3 of us. If we make a mistake, potentially there's 3 of us swimming with no safety to get a kayak.
Yep. Agreed.
And I mean, I have a super high level of confidence. Again, like I'm in a boat. I'm very comfortable running. I know this run. I've done it 100 times. I'm like, let's go get the boat. Because otherwise that boat's gone. And the paddle, and it's a $400 paddle. But man, I'm thinking about it. It's in my brain right now as we're rowing down, like, man, is this a good idea? Is this the right thing to do? What if there's more than one swimmer behind us? What if there's 2 kayak swimmers? Who's going to save those 2 kayak swimmers?
Well, kayakers run without rafters all the time.
That's true. And also like some of the kayakers are solid. So I know like if out of the next 4 kayakers, 2 swim, well, there's going to be some more kayak help coming. But there's just a lot of gray area and judgment that goes in here.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, you can go after the boat. I feel like a lot of times when you go through a like this, that boat's going to get hung up a little bit going down. And a lot of times I don't like to even try to just like chase down the boat, because then you can get yourself into some weird lines. I just try to take the fast line, clean line down, get down to the bottom and try to get in front of it, and then wait for it to come to me.
Yeah, I knew we weren't going to get it in the rapid, basically. Yeah. And I knew like we were running the rapid. And sometimes if you're watching the boat, you'll have a bad line because you're so focused on the boat, you make a mistake. And actually at the end of this rapid, I hit a wall because I was really busy looking at the boat at the bottom. But what I was telling the crew in the front, I'm like, look for the paddle, try to get eyes on the paddle, because it seems like we always lose paddles doing this. All right, Todd, great comment. Thank you. All right, Aaron, you want to do a contest? We're done with that. We're done with that section of the show, part 1.
Okay, let's do it.
I have this book, Rivers of Oregon by Tim Palmer. And it's not like one that's on my bookshelf I haven't read. It's a brand new copy of it. It's been unopened that I want to give to a member. You have to be a member because, you gave us money. So I want to have something to give back, who can tell us the 2 things a river has to have to be eligible for wild and scenic. Does that make sense? Am I saying that right? Do you have the
2 things it has to have?
The 2, I should have thought of the wording better. There's 2 things that have to be true of a river segment. A segment of river, not the whole thing, a segment of river. You're Googling it, Aaron. You should just know this.
I have some ideas.
There's 2 things that river has to have to be eligible to be wild and scenic. So the first member who puts it in the comments, send Aaron your address and I will mail you this beautiful Rivers of Oregon book. Todd, you got one of them kind of, but close, Todd. You're close, Todd. So while we wait for comments, I'm going to move on to part 2 of the show, which I think you're going to like, Aaron.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to start first. Well, the first part you're not going to like because it's going to be kind of dorky and boring, But Aaron, trust me, you're gonna like how this ends up. So let's just go through quickly what the IRF would consider like a safety talk. And we're trying to call them safety demonstrations. Like what's in like an IRF standard safety talk. We'll try to go through this pretty quick. Oops. Some sort of introduction that you can read, that everybody can read this. This just like, hey, welcome, here's who it is, here's the river we're on.
I'm gonna go back to that, Zach. Like, let's talk about our major assumptions before we start the safety talk.
Okay.
You have a limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have a limited. They have a limit. Like, we know, the longer you talk, the less they retain.
Yeah.
Why you can tell them the name of the river? They don't know where they are? I mean, they know the river. They know the class of the river. Like, why do we even care about that?
I think you tell them the class because they may not know what they're getting into. Like, hey, this is a class 4 river, and people are like, what? Like, maybe has
that ever happened to you on a trip?
It hasn't happened,
but class 4, and then people would be like, wait, what? This is class 4 river?
This is the International Rafting Federation, not the Where Zach's Been Boating Rafting Federation.
Okay.
So I think some places it's just good to reiterate that. And I think you have to warm up the crowd a little bit. So it's like, hey, here are your guides. I'm not a fan of the guide names thing because it does take a lot of time, and it just depends on the situation whether I do that or not. But Noel, every river I do, I always start with welcome to the Tuolumne River. This is a class 4 river. And that's from Noel. Noel used to say that in his safety talks. And it's just, to me, like an inside joke I tell myself every time. So if I'm on the Rogue River, I go, welcome to the Rogue River. This is a class 3 river. I do it every safety talk I've done everywhere ever, just based on like what Noel used to do that. But
I start with,
it takes a second. Hey, welcome to Tuolumne River.
You know what I start with? Here's what I start with.
I'm Aaron Cavignola.
No. Okay. This is what we found. People who stay in the raft typically have a really good time. People who fall off.
You start with that.
Right away.
Walk up to the crowd. You walk up to the crowd. You don't even warm up.
You guys ready? Everyone ready? This is what I say first. Exactly. First thing. If you stay in the boat, you're going to have a great time. If you fall, you probably still will.
My name is Aaron.
So
my name is Aaron. I'm happy to meet you. Welcome. We're excited you're here.
I've already. Well, first of all,
you just go right into that.
I've already introduced myself as people get off the bus, so everyone's met me at that point. Sometimes Aaron, I will.
You're assuming.
You're
assuming they get off a bus. Like, this is the International Rafting Federation, not the Where Aaron Went Rafting Federation. So
you're right.
So like, you're making a massive assumption. Like, you can do these things ahead of time, but like the average person walks up to a crowd. There's a crowd ready to go.
But that's what I wanted to have that conversation. What you said right there. Okay. And I think as much as you can, do stuff before the safety talk or after the safety talk, not as part of your safety demonstration talk. Like keep that like as concise as possible. And stuff that doesn't really matter. Do the guide's names really matter? No. Does the river name and class really matter? No. That's not a safety demonstration. Asking about medical and non-swimmers is not a safety demonstration. That's not safety demonstration. That's other stuff. And that doesn't need to be included in the safety demonstration. That's my point.
I think I agree. I agree. I think I can see both sides here.
And I understand the other part of it. And I think it's good for the test to like, if you're testing people, to make sure that they know, this is stuff you want to cover and talk about with.
But I think if I'm teaching somebody to guide a class 3 river, I'm going to ask them to do this because it's a good way to warm up the crowd. It's a good way. You want to, like, people feel more comfortable if they know who the guides are. Like, it kind of like brings the crew together. Now, if you're flying into a middle floor trip on an airplane and you've already met the guests and you've already talked about the guides at a pre-trip meeting, of course it's different. But if you're guiding a class 2 river in Argentina, I think this.
Are you really going to ask about medical and non-swim information right at the beginning? Are people really going to say it in the middle of, yeah, man, I've got this. I can't swim. No, they're not going to say it in front of everyone. That's why I'd wait till the end. And like, for me, if anyone has any medical or non-swimmer information, come up and talk to me now.
I say is, if you didn't tell the office about a medical condition that's important, you please pull me aside and tell me before we leave. I say that. I don't bring up non-swimmers. I think but I think sometimes that's important if you're like guiding a class 4+ high water river and you don't know your guests. They're not they're not like a place where self-rescue is important, like that first video. I think non-swimmers are important. If it's the rogue, I'm not worried about it. So I think it does depend on. Aaron, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we can't debate every page.
We can. Let's do it.
I'm just giving the foundation of what's in the talk. All right, moving on.
Can we go back? Can we just quickly? I would not do PPE as part of the talk either. I do it beforehand. I get them all suited up, and I talk about that separately before we're getting suited up.
Yeah, but I think it's important to say, hey, you need your PFD. You need to wear that the whole time. I need you to wear shoes.
Is that ever a problem?
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, it is. People don't take it off. I'm going to cover. It's the single most important thing for safety is wearing your PPE. So yeah, I'm going to bring this one up.
Because that's what causes deaths on commercial trips is people not wearing their PPE.
It doesn't. Well, people wear their PPE, so deaths don't happen. If people didn't wear it, if people didn't cover this in a safety talk and people didn't wear their PFD, there wouldn't be deaths.
I've never covered it in the safety talk.
Okay, whatever. You should if you want to pass your IRF test again.
I know. That's annoying. But yes, I understand for the IRF test.
I make it very clear to people.
Wear your PPE.
In my normal safety talk, I say, hey, I'm asking that you wear your uniform. Kind of like the Avengers have a uniform. I want you to wear your uniform. So that means your helmet, your life jacket, and your shoes. And I need you to wear that the whole time. I know you might be wanting to take things off here and there, but it's important that you wear your uniform. Okay. I could go into a member of the.
Zach, what do you mean by how to stand, stay, and raft?
Oh, that's a typo, kind of. I just how to stay in the raft.
Okay.
Which I know is a big one to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I say
paddle
stand,
tee, and I'd say paddle tee
is in there.
Paddle tee and how to stay in the raft. Those are my, because like that's the original part. Hey, stay in the raft. You'll have a great time. How do you stay in the raft? This is how you stay in the raft. Don't hit your friend with your paddle tee. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get to all the other stuff. This is how you're gonna get hurt. You hit someone. It's like, yeah.
To me, this page is critical. Wear your PFD. Don't hit somebody with a T-grip, and how to not fall out. It's pretty big stuff. Right. And parts of the raft, I like to cover it because I'd like to say that the thwarts give the boat lateral rigidity, but they're not to sit on.
Who cares?
I don't like people sitting on my thwarts. I care.
Well, it's different. That's a different thing about sitting on the thwart is to say, hey, sit on the outside too. This is where we need to sit.
So I take a second to explain the parts of the raft. Anyway, I don't actually, but it's probably our standard. All right. And then we break this down as close swimmer, medium swimmer, long swimmer rescue. So close swimmer rescues, just grab them and pull them in. Don't stand up. Medium is like you're further away, aggressively swim to the raft. And if you're far away, look for that defensive swimming position. You're not, if there's no boats close, that's defensive swimming. And then we talk about throw bags, which we don't need to go into right now. How to handle flips, and then adding on anything specific to that river, right? People watching this show might be like, don't forget to talk about if you get stuck under a raft. That might be river specific.
How is that river specific? Certain rivers you can't get stuck underneath the raft.
No, but some rivers it's not a problem. Like it's not worth spending a minute talking about.
What rivers is it not a problem?
I'm not going to mention one because next thing you know, it will be a problem. But like,
if you're scared to mention it, then wouldn't you be setting yourself up by like not mentioning your safety talk? Oh, someone's going to end up underneath the raft.
I mean,
talk about your safety talk.
Aaron,
you don't want to mention it here right now.
You're being argumentative today. Here's the thing about we're gonna have this talk. We're gonna tangent again. There's a lot of things we could potentially cover in a safety talk, and every time you add more things, you take away from the effectiveness of the rest of the things you say.
I agree totally.
So like there's sometimes when
ending up underneath the raft is kind of important.
It's not when does that ever happen to people? When does people end up under the raft?
Oh God, I've so many.
Is there a rash of drownings of people that are caught under the raft?
No, but I think people are underneath and it's like, hey, thanks for telling me what to do. And then you
come
do it
on.
And you get up under
it. So on the Rogue, are you gonna tell people what happens if they're under the raft?
I might, depending on the group.
Okay, whatever. I'm not. I mean, It hasn't. I don't see the rash of problems of people getting stuck under rafts. It's just not like, and the fact that you say in the safe talk, once you do it, like do your hands and pick a direction. No kidding. This is obvious stuff. But if I'm guiding a high water tuolumne or even a low water tuolumne, I probably would, because I don't want anybody.
Go back to your flips. Go back to your flips. You talk about getting out from underneath the raft there. Are you gonna talk about flips on the road?
No, Aaron, getting up under the upside down raft.
I know. I'm
gonna cover that there. I'm just gonna say, get out from under the raft. Don't hang out there. I'm not gonna say the whole speech where you're like, I have a whole speech where I go into like, if you come up and see a raft and you can't, get air, choose a direction and go this way. And I go, the rafts are 14 feet long. The farthest you're going to go end to end is 14 feet. And I have a whole spiel about how, like, if you switch directions the whole time, you could cover a mile under the raft. No, I have a whole thing.
That's a classic safety talk thing that a lot of people say.
That takes about 45 seconds.
But you could just say, hey, if you find yourself underneath the raft, put your because some people, I have seen this, Zach, multiple times. People try to get onto their stomach underneath it and try to swim out that way. And I have seen that multiple times.
All right. Well, did they die?
No, they didn't die. But they're not going to die if you don't tell them about all the swim stuff either.
Okay. Anyway, that was a bad example. I'm not going to. I hate debating the nuances. Okay. There's so many better things to cover.
No, but I think there's an important one. The river-specific hazards, I would like to see holes on there.
Holes?
Yeah, hydraulics. If you get stuck in a hole, what to do?
What do you do?
You can roll up in a ball. You can swim to one side, go down, swim to one side, go down, swim to the side, get yourself out.
Okay, cool.
Relax, go with the flow. Just don't fight it. I've seen people just fight. Aaron, fight.
Aaron, this is just like a partial list of some hazards. It's not a complete list of all the river specific.
You have animals on there.
These are because animals can
shallow
eat you.
Water. Why is
shallow water super dangerous?
That's
probably not even river.
Shouldn't it be earlier on then?
Well, it's here. It's covered, I think, in. Hold on. Why isn't this not moving?
Where's foot entrapments?
Oh man, this thing isn't moving. It's covered in some swimmer rescue. Don't stand. In closed swimmer rescue, it's covered there. But there's some times when I think it's like you really want to cover it pretty hard. Like it's a big deal. Like low water, middle fork, you want to cover it. High water tuolumne, probably not a big deal. It's river specific. This is not a complete list. These are just some items. So the point of this slide is, Aaron, you're just so frustrating today. The point of the slide is we don't have to cover everything everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Sometimes your safety talk is going to change river to river based on where you are. That way, when you're on the rogue, you're not wasting your attention span on stuff that don't really apply. Because you really want to focus it on the stuff that does apply, that will keep them as safe as possible.
Zach, the other reason I think you want to talk about being underneath the right side up boat is I think it's really disorienting to be underneath there. And if it's something you've discussed with them beforehand, they're like, oh yeah, the guy talked about that. This is what I need to do. Because I think it's scary. And just to be like, oh yeah, this is what I do. And so they have
doesn't happen very often.
Underneath the raft.
Oh, come on. When's the last time you saw somebody underneath the right side up raft?
I've been underneath so many of them.
Hey, Aaron, that's not the question I asked you. When's the last time you saw somebody, when I say somebody, I mean not you, underneath a right side up raft?
Oh, all the time.
No. I didn't ask you how often. I said, when is the last time you've seen somebody?
Zach, I live in Hawaii at the moment, so I'm not rafting very often.
Okay, but that's fine. So assuming that, has it been a year? Has it been 10 years? Has it been 100 years?
Let's say how many trips ago. Let's just say how many rafting days ago. Probably within the last 20 days of rafting.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen it. It just isn't a thing that's an issue out there to me. People falling out of the boat and having the raft. It's just
where I see it is you hit a feature and and the boat comes up and then you fall at the upstream side and the boat lands and then you come up underneath the boat.
It's so rare. It's one of those things that just doesn't. I'm not going to say I've never seen. It's just really
or your
rare.
Your raft is surfing in a hole and someone falls out and then they come up underneath the raft in the hole.
What are they supposed to do there? There's nothing you can even do. You're in a hole, upside down raft. There's nothing. I can't teach you anything there. We're teaching
right side up raft underneath it.
Yeah, when you're in a hole, no trick is going to work. You're in a hole.
You're right. You're right about that. However, you were asking a separate question: how often people end up underneath upside down rafts?
Okay, we're done with this. Here we go. Andrew's saying it happens a lot on pull drop rivers. Okay, cool.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew.
Yep. So anyway, let's get through this because this isn't even the point of what we're talking about. I have something way better than this.
Oh, really?
So I feel like summarizing the key points for me, I summarize these things at the end because they're that important to me now. Aaron, you might not think talking about wearing your PPE is important, but I'm going to summarize.
I think you're missing a huge one in your little list there.
What's that?
Stay in the raft.
Whatever. And then
whatever. If they stay in the raft, you don't have to worry about half of that stuff.
I think it's pretty obvious. I just think that one's obvious.
But Zach, how many times have you heard people say, "I thought the raft was going to flip, so I fell out"? I've heard that so many times over the years. And I've had people say since my state, like, "Oh yeah, man, I did everything I could to stay in the raft."
Whatever. That's why I think that this summarizing key points, I say minor these because I think people are smarter than you do think people are.
I like self-rescue. I like the self-rescue part. I like the beat up part. I think the wear PPE is
pretty important. But anyway,
not as important as staying in the raft to mention there. Because as a guide,
because it's super obvious.
You're not in the middle of the raft. You're not in the middle of the rapid. You're not gonna be like, "Ooh, I'm taking off my life jacket in the middle of the rapid while we're paddling."
Because it's super obvious to stay in the raft.
You'd be like, "Hey, you need to." What's more obvious? Wear your life jacket or stay in the raft.
The thing is that like people don't like they start unbuckling it. They take it off. Like I want to make sure it's important to keep it on. I don't want the guides to have to be like, "Oh, put your life jacket back on." I want to make that point right away. Don't unbuckle it. Don't take it off. You're going to wear it on the river. And shoes, helmet, all the stuff. And so I don't want to, this is saving me later on from having to bug people. Stay in the raft is just like, no shit. So we have just different opinions. All right, let's get done with this. Jeez. This is New Year's Eve. It's supposed to be fun. Okay, so anyway, and then
I'm enjoying myself today.
Finally,
safety craft. I'm not yawning a lot, Zach. So that's a good sign. Let's keep going.
I have been drinking way too much coffee here. So then finally, if you have a safety kayak or cataract, having a demo.
I think that's really important too. It's like if you have a kayak along and they're calling themselves a safety kayak, is to have a conversation and them tell the team or the people who are on the trip as well as the guides of what they will and won't do. So you have an idea of what to expect from them, because I think there's a wide range of comfort level in terms of rescuing people by safety kayakers and people calling themselves safety kayakers.
Yeah. As you know, we've both seen our friend swim as a safety kayaker and we had to rescue him. So it's been happening.
Because he wasn't sure about his role put in.
He was a paid safety kayaker and had to get rescued. It's important. And so I guess the point of this whole show here, I mean, this is I've just recognized a couple typos and I hate typos. This is my PowerPoint for IRF safety talks. And so it's not perfect. It depends on where you're going, but I think it's a good foundation for safety talks. I think that's what's really good about that. That thing is, it just like we at least talk through a lot of things before we get to the real meat and potatoes of today's exercise. And that's this thing that I made that I based off of that. And so I think I know there's a lot here, Aaron. I know there's a lot here.
This is unbelievably nerdy right here. This is amazing, Zach. This is incredible. Oh gosh.
I think the point I want to make, and this comes to our discussion last week, and this is the meat and potatoes of our episode, is I think there's things that, and I did my best to, this is a hard thing to communicate, and it's a hard thing that's not perfect. It's a hard thing to put it, but like, there's things that as professional guides, we have to share that information with everybody. We have a responsibility to. And if you're taking people on a private trip and they're not boaters, it's a smaller subset of things. Like you might leave some of those things off. Right. And not that you shouldn't, but like, and you should probably cover everything, But on a private trip, it's a little more casual. It's usually like 1 or 2 people. There's not like a duty of a guide to explain this stuff. It's more of like, hey, let's do the nuts and bolts. And then I think there's another subset that's like, hey, we're all boaters. We're just not familiar with each other. So let's have a quick talk about the things that are important. I'm just assume everybody knows how to stay in the raft, how to handle a throw bag, to wear their PPE. Because they're boaters. Let's now have the quick talk about what we're going to do as boaters. And I had that little separate circle for like, this is what, when we were having this discussion last week, like in my brain, I'm like, hey, when I go paddle with my friends after work and somebody joins, I don't just do a whole safety talk because we all know each other. And, if you all know each other, it's more of like, hey, are we going to do boat order today? And who's, I guess, comfortable? You don't have to cover anything because it's already known. And then I added the river specific stuff on the right. So any thoughts, Aaron?
Yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I think it's incredible. I
Wow.
can see where you're annoyed before because you just wanted to get to this, and I was hammering you on your intro. I was like, oh, let's do some more thought. And unfamiliar boaters, private trip. I like all the stuff you have on there. A couple of things I might add would be any places people want to scout, and places of concern. Like hey, where are the places we're concerned about on the river?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think those would be the 2 things I'd add to that one.
And by the way, one thing I thought of when I was doing this is I realized like the circle for unfamiliar boaters on our private trip, that's not stuff that river guides would tell the guests.
But stuff that they should be doing. Yeah.
But this is all like it's covered because this is the stuff that you have in that pre-trip meeting you talked about last time.
Yeah.
When you're meeting with your crew, like we talked about last time, like I was like, you said you had pre-trip meetings with the guides, and I called you out. I'm like, you don't have pre-trip meetings with the guides, right? And we do sometimes, but not always, Aaron. You have to admit.
Oh, it doesn't happen every trip, no.
But this is the stuff that you should go over with the guides should go over as a crew without the guests ahead of time.
But I would say if I don't feel like we all are on the same page with all these things, plus scouting and places of concern, I'm going to have some sort of meeting to rectify that. If I know, if it's our 100th trip together on the one day and we always put everything in the same spot and, we all know where everything goes. No, I'm not going to go through all those things with it. I may talk about concerned guests or something else like that. But yeah.
But this is a circle, the unfamiliar boater private trip isn't the safety talk the guides give. It's sort of like it's in a world of pre-trip talk that guides have potentially before a trip or before a season.
Yeah.
Right. Like if it's before a Tuolumne season and it's 1,000 CFS, we'll have this talk once or twice and we'll just crush out trips at 1,000. Unless the crew changes, we'll have this talk. Or if 1 week it comes up to 5,000, it's like, hey, we need to re-talk about river signals, boat spacing, order. And then like what you mentioned, certain rapids, like, hey guys, we're gonna scout Clavey, and at Gray's Grindstone, you have to go left in the entrance. Like we're no playing Carl.
Or the guests, hey, guests are getting here late. Let's have a quick meeting. Hey, how can we shave some time today? Hey, is everyone comfortable not scouting this rapid? And we normally stop to scout it. Does anyone really want to scout it today? And if we do, maybe let's not have everyone get out of the boat. Just guides run down, do a quick guide scout today to save time. And I think that's the key thing, is having that conversation beforehand so you're on the same page. Like, here's what we're going to pull over. This is how we're going to handle the scout. Keeping everyone safe. And even on the non-boaters private trip, I would say still have that meeting and maybe have everyone there for it, but to say, hey, we're talking and we think what you guys think about when we stop to scout this rapid? Let's have guys run out take a quick look because it's kind of cold today. So we just want to keep moving. We don't, we want to keep moving downstream or whatever the case may be. So I just see community, that little bit of communication is nice. And then Zach, one of the things that I'd say, my other concern about this is there's some stuff, the river guide stuff.
It could be. It's not
the non-private boater and the river guide one. I almost feel like they should have the same stuff in them, pretty much.
I worked really hard. Well, so I mean, I wanted them to be different.
Yeah, but I don't think they should. I think they should be minimally different, Zach.
You're right. When as I was doing this, I'm like, I
think they should be the same pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, do non-boaters reserve a safety craft? Non-boater privates also deserve a safety craft demo? Yeah. Should we also not have them drink alcohol or do drugs? Yeah. Should we also emphasize for the entrapments and strainers? Yeah.
In-depth PPE. And I would say more so even on private trips, because private trips, you're much more likely to see the alcohol and the drugs. You're much more likely to see people undoing their PPE. People are much less likely to follow the norms of the rules of they're much more likely to follow the rules. We know when you do private trips, your friends are a pain. They're way more of a pain than doing a commercial trip. Commercial trip, people listen to you way more. They do what they're supposed to do.
Well, and a commercial trip, I think
family.
There's a big difference though. The commercial trip, you have a responsibility. You have you're paid to be responsible. On a private trip, I really want to be the guy who's like, all right, guys, no drinking, no drugs. Hey guys, here's your safety craft demo. It's a little bit more casual, and so I'm trying to represent that like some of this stuff, it's not mandatory.
Well, tone is different, but I've seen a lot of times where there's some non-boater private trips, and then one person will take them off to the side and give them a talk. Like, we got a group of 12, 3 people aren't really rafters. Hey, Zach, do you mind giving them a kind of an orientation? And then you take them off and do that with them. Yeah. Having said that, one of my concerns though is with this, and I'll say is there are unfamiliar boaters on a private trip who consider some of themselves boaters who I would still like to hear, and this may sound arrogant, hear my safety talk and what I have to say, because I don't know if they've heard all of this. And I don't know.
Yeah, but Aaron, if you get invited on a I mean, I know what you're saying, but let me rephrase it. Let's say I get invited on a private middle fork trip with some people I kind of know, and I show up and I'm like, yeah, these guys are they're a little sketchy. Am I really going to be the one who's like, hey guys, I want you to hear my safety talk because I'm going to talk about all these things. It's a very hard thing to do.
I'm not saying it, but if it's my private trip and, whatever, my wife had some of her friends come along who are boaters too, she knows from work, and there's some other people who are friends and they're friends of friends type of thing. That's where I start to be like, all right. And, or Zach's friends. And I know Zach's way more lax than I am about this stuff. He'd be like, oh, it's all fine. I'll be like, let's just do if I'm in charge. Yeah. If I'm not in charge, it depends on the scene. And Zach, if you're in charge, and you're a good friend of mine, first of all, I don't go on private trips with people who I don't know in general. And I'm very hesitant with that just because I don't know this stuff. And I don't want to put myself in that position. And I know not everyone's as lucky as I am to be able to be that choosy, but I think that is a concern. And I think it doesn't hurt to bring it up and to say, hey, do you mind if we just have a conversation like we talked about before? Just be like, hey man, I've never boated with you guys before. I'd love to just have a conversation. If I'm rowing one of the rafts, you guys are rowing the one, it's hey, can we just make sure we're on the same page with river signals and stuff before we go? I'd appreciate that. And then just ask a couple questions how do you guys like to do this? What do you guys do like this? Oh, okay, cool.
But you're not going to give a safety talk.
Not necessarily, but I might offer if there's some people who don't. If I'm bringing a couple friends who don't know, I say, hey, man, I kind of feel like these people need a safety talk. I can do a safety talk for all the people that need one, and do that. And then I would set it up in a place where they could everyone else would overhear what I'm saying, and so they're not necessarily you need to listen, but then they might, they'll get something out oh, I didn't know, cool, if that makes sense. So not in your face Zach Cole, you need to listen to my safety talk because it's the best.
It's really, it's and you're assuming everybody is a good, chill person. There's no egos going on, or there's not so-and-so who guided for 4 years. It was I was a guide for 4 years and my talk's better. And you forgot to talk about you've had to tell people to swim over logs, the classic thing is you get the safety talk and then 2 river guides are listening and they keep jumping in. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, come on, it's frustrating. These are hard things to do on private trips.
Yeah, I don't mind when people speak up most of the time. That doesn't bother me. It gives me a little bit of a break to catch my breath.
Yeah, but they start. How it can be where people start chiming in from the crowd, and it's just this talk that you intended to spend 5 or 10 minutes doing ends up taking half an hour, and then
longer.
the people loading the boats like, hey guys, we got to launch because we have 20 miles to make today.
Yeah.
It's. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's hard. It's a really hard thing to do, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
I think it's not the easiest, and you've got to be comfortable with the material to do it in that type of setting.
The thing I'll tell you what I do is on my trips I do like this, especially when I'm not in charge, is I'm like, hey, can we just get in a circle, and everybody just like go around the circle and tell us your safety pet peeve, and that way it includes everybody. And if I say my pet peeve is people not wearing their PFDs, and that's somebody else's, the next person will say something else, and so I found that to be pretty effective. It's not always thorough, but we at least have a discussion to start the show. And then somebody might say, hey, my pet peeve is people who use the wrong river signals. And then we go, oh, what are our river signals today? That's a strategy I've taken to be more inclusive and treat the other people on the trip as peers, not like me telling them how it's done.
No, I think that makes sense, Zach. Yeah, I think that's a great tool in your toolbox. That makes a lot of sense. You're just much more, you're much more thoughtful of the group than I am. Yeah.
No, I think that I'm hesitant because although I have a lot of knowledge and experience, I do make mistakes. I forget I leave something out. Like I could give the talk and I might be like, yeah, I forgot to mention that we need to do this thing because it's not my normal. I'm not going to give private boaters my normal commercial safety talk. They would be frustrated by it. Unless they didn't know anything about boating, they would be like, this is super nerdy. Like mine just flows weird for a private group. So like more, I would gather everybody together and like, let's together do a talk based on what we think is important on the river.
Really? Yeah. I feel like mine is fine for private group versus commercial group. Mine's pretty.
Mine would, I think people.
Well, because you like talk, like, you start talking about like superheroes and stuff in your Zach.
That's the best part. I think that's the part people would like.
That's sad, but that's the best part of your talk. Is the
Okay.
superheroes.
What's the best part of your talk, Aaron?
Talking about the safety stuff. The safety.
That's super nerdy. Like, are you kidding me? That's not the best part.
The best part of it is my demonstrations.
The best part is you're quenching people's knowledge. Is that what you're saying? Or you're quenching people's lack of knowledge?
I'm helping people feel more ready to go on the river.
That's no. The best part is actually a part that people enjoy in the talk. Then you're just saying, okay, guys, don't drink. If you swim, do this. The actual best part of my safety talk is when I do my ducky talk and I demonstrate getting back in the ducky. I crawl up in the dirt and I put my hands over it and I put my butt up in the air and struggle to get into it.
Seems like more about you than about actually getting across the information that's necessary.
No, that gets it. Hey, what's the most important thing for safety in duckies?
Stay upright.
What's the second most important thing?
How to self-rescue.
Yeah. Maybe it's third. I don't know. But I think people underestimate how hard it is to get back in the ducky, and they're afraid to look terrible out there. Like they're sticking their butt in the air and they're really struggling. And so I point out that it is a struggle and you will look terrible. So that when they do it, they have an expectation. So I think it's effective, Aaron.
Okay.
Okay. I got some comments. Look at this. I got some nice. Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
Yeah,
Chris.
it's a really nice chart.
You can organically give an indirect.
I agree, Zach.
What does that mean? Explain that.
I think he means you can make it roll with the group and with the people that are there. Just have a little chat and kind of like what you did too. Is like you can just have, depending on the group. You just got to read the group and just talk about safety talks. You could just do like kind of what we're doing right now. What do you guys like to include in your safety talk when you do a safety talk? And just start talking back and forth and chatting about it and hearing what everyone has to say. And kind of like what you're saying about going around and talking about your big pet peeve.
I mean, hold on. I just thought of something. One thing about going around the circle and the pet peeves is you quickly learn about people too. You learn about those boaters who were who are quiet, but they're badass. They're like, damn, that was a really insightful thing to say.
Oh, I was annoyed.
And then you learn about the safety squirrel nerds who are like, yeah, you read that in a book. Like that's you can.
Okay, Zach. So how do I be a
a lot.
safety school nerd? What answer do I give?
I'm not going to say because you're just going to debate me. I don't want to debate that right
No,
now.
I want to know so next time I can throw that out there, so I can be the annoying one.
I'm not going to do this around you. I don't see that happening. I
You've
don't know, something that's like, you know, anybody, as soon as just people start using the words never and always, like, oh, here we go. Always do this. Like you can tell by the energy they give. Like there's the calm people who are like, hey,
always keep your feet up.
Which is that true?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I like there's some more good comments.
Okay. With all the safety. Hey, wait, hold on. What? Explain to me what this means again. You know,
I think he means like you don't have to be like structured. Like, okay, I'm going to give the robot safety talk now. Blah blah blah. I think he's more organic. You can have it like as a conversation. It just kind of work in there. Like everyone's kind of hanging out, and you can just get that going. And I agree with Zach. Like there's you can do it in like a more mellow, a less like authoritative.
Aaron, this is what I'm saying to do. You're the one that's like, they got to hear my Aaron Cavagnolo safety talk. Everybody has to hear it. I'm more like, no, you have to figure out the audience.
And Zach, you said to do your little circle game, which doesn't sound like a safety talk.
That sounds like it depends.
Yeah, but you're not covering. You're not.
I'm not covering everything thoroughly, but it's assuming that everybody is a boater. Like if somebody's never not a boater, then yeah, we have to do the whole thing.
I think that's what Zach's talking about that too. I think Zach's talking about, yeah, like you can cover this stuff, yeah, without covering it. Yeah, you might be a little annoying depending on the group, but Willie Bum has a nice little comment too.
With all the safety, it's amazing we can even go boating anymore. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about safety a lot lately, and today it's important. I mean, I don't know if this is a joke, but I just want to. It's important. Yeah.
I think we're going out there to take risk.
I'm not going out there to take risk. No, I want to see birds and hang out with friends. I don't want to take risk.
You probably could go on a walk.
The best part of a safety talk. I mean, I think a good safety talk, people will enjoy the whole thing.
Agreed, Willie Bum Bum.
I don't agree with this. I think that people it's an experience people enjoy. It's not like something they're happy to be. Oh, we're finally done with my safety talk. They're like, wow, that was actually interesting and fun. And I was entertained, and I learned a bunch. I feel better about safety, like because people want the information. They want to be safer. Like if I'm going to go jump out of an airplane, I want all the information about how to jump out of an airplane. Like I want that. Now, if it's just given to me poorly, at some point I'm like, just throw me out of the plane. You know, but the best ones where I'm like, I'm getting information and I'm engaged by the person.
Yeah.
And then hit the bullet points, hit them all. Hit them all. I mean, what does all mean? All, I mean, this is what I think is all, because all of them will get you, make this talk 30 minutes. Willie Bum Bum, are you how long is your safety talk? How long do you think a good safety talk is? Because I think sometimes, this is hard to say, but it's honest. Sometimes you can't hit everything. You got to kind of pick your battles and make sure that you cover the stuff that's crucial, and some things that are like, you know, do you cover like, what if an eagle comes down and snatches your hat? It's a risk out there, right? Or what if, I don't know. I don't think you can cover everything. What do you think, Aaron?
You can't cover every single situation, but I think that's one of the nice things about when you, like I saw it with those Cherry Creek trips, we were covering all the material and we were covering it quickly, efficiently, effectively.
Were you covering
in the morning?
Were you covering what to do if you come up under a boat?
Yeah.
Were you covering how to swim over a log?
Yeah, and how to swim through branches, and if you go towards a rock streamer, yeah. Yep.
How long did it take?
Well, we broke it up. See, that's the thing is we basically had 3 talks. We never talked to people like we never told people they had to keep their life jacket buckled. We never discussed that or keep their shoes tied.
It's Cherry Creek. They're gonna keep it on. Like that, like I wouldn't either. Like it's Cherry Creek.
I mean, that's the thing. We never talk about that. That's why I was like, why is that important? We never talked about that. What is important? But I would say we broke it down into 3 parts. First of all, it was like the boat dynamics part, like how the boat moves, how to sit in the raft to stay in the raft. There's that boat dynamic part, how to get in and out of the boats without getting yourself hurt, because that's where we see a lot of people getting hurt, is climbing in and out, grabbing to the oar handles, then the oar blade swings up, those little details like that, getting in and out of the boats, how the boat moves, how to keep your weight over your hips. And then the second part is the kind of the class, more of the classic safety talk, is the what ifs, basically the swim talk, like, and that's if you fall the raft, here's what you do. And so we'd switch. We have 3 people. We'd have the first person one person do boat dynamics, one person do like swimming, and then the final person do a paddle talk. And then we do a paddle talk up on there, talk about all the different things to do with paddle, talk about all our overs as part of the paddle talk to get down.
But I'm gonna make, I mean, in this talk, I'm showing the paddle talk is a whole different thing. I'm assuming like the guide's gonna give the paddle talk.
No, totally. You don't have high sides in here anymore. And I like high sides being removed from the safety talk. I think high sides should be part of a paddle talk.
Yep.
Like in general, if you're on a row trip, that changes a little bit if there's only oar boats, but I do agree. I like that.
And my normal safety talk doesn't match up with the PowerPoint thing I showed you guys earlier. That the PowerPoint was based on IRF talk. My normal talk, based on the trips I do, we cover high sides because it's a lot of oar boats. The oar boat guide is not going to cover it there, and like I have a way to cover it quickly in a way I really like.
Well, I think. See, if I were on a trip, your trip where there's like a bunch of oar boats and people would be rotating the paddle boats, I'd have one of the paddle guides do a paddle talk with everyone at the beginning before we put on the river. So if somebody switches out in the middle of the day, they have some idea, and then have them talk about the high sides or the overs or what.
Why don't I just do it as a trip leader?
I think multiple reasons. I think first of all, changing voices is good, and changing like, okay, over here we talk about boat dynamics. Then let's move over here and let's talk about swim training. Now let's move back over here someplace else.
Aaron, I think it's good to switch voices if you have like 3 badass Cherry Creek guides who are very competent and come in and command the audience.
Yeah, but Zach,
I've been there when people switch safety talks and it goes from like the trip leader to the less experienced person, and that person kind of you can just tell they're not as good of a speaker. They don't command the material as well.
No, totally.
So it's not great.
That being said, I think having one person in your group talk about how to paddle in the raft, who is the paddle boat captain, is a good idea, and that works well.
Say that again.
It's better than if there's one paddle raft on your trip. It doesn't make sense for you to tell them how. If you're the trip leader, it makes sense for the person who's driving the paddle boat to tell them how to paddle in the paddle boat.
But they can do that down at the boat. Like they don't have to do that for everybody.
Yeah, they do it for everybody the first day, and then you're done with it. Because then you don't have to redo it, and then everyone hears it, everyone knows it. It's done once. There's a little review the next morning, but then that person isn't having.
Okay, this is subtle. I'm not going to get into. I don't want to get into this. I disagree. I think go back to Cherry Creek talk. It sounds like 2 people did the talk. It was 2 people covered the safety, and 1 person covered the paddle talk. I'm not including the paddle talk as part of the talk. 2 people did the talk.
Yeah, but I would even say that is mainly pretty much one really covered the swim stuff.
But let's go back to private trips. You're not going to do this in private trips. You're really going to have 2 people do a safety talk for a private trip. That requires so much preparation by the 2 people. And like,
no, but you can still have a separate paddle talk very easily.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on.
And I think that's a good thing to know. That's where we talk about like keeping it as short as possible. So yeah, this is a tough subject. Thanks for bringing it up, Willie Bum Bum. Like that's why we don't cover easy stuff here. I mean, this show is like I'm not going to bring some easy topic up so Aaron and I can just agree with each other and go home and celebrate New Year's Eve. We're trying to get the bottom of tough things, and I mean that's the goal here. And like I don't think I'm just here to tell you what the answer is. Like, hey, guess what? I'm telling you the answer. This morning I spent an hour making this chart, thinking about it, and putting a lot of my thoughts into it. I had a lot of debates in my head, and then I'm bringing this to Aaron, and I'm bringing this to you guys who are following and watching and looking for input and thoughts. And I'll probably tonight, maybe tomorrow, come back and change this. It's helping me learn because this is a very tough thing. How to get information to a private
private trip. And I think it's really important. And after our last talk, Aaron, when I was kind of harshing on you a little bit, I really thought about it a lot. I said, it is important that private boaters are having some sort of pre-trip talks depending on the group. But I recognize there's so much diversity in group types, right? If you're thinking about the non-boater private trip is way different than familiar boaters. And so how do we graduate this talk or think about this talk based on a variety of private trips? So yeah, thanks for recognizing it's tough, and it is tough, and it's something I'm trying to put a lot of thought into right now. What do you think, Aaron?
I think we got a lot of safety is important. I actually agree with River Rafter, but at some points, like Zach thinks he's just going to look at birds. He likes the adrenaline.
I don't like the adrenaline. I used to,
what?
But no. You get. I mean, Aaron, I'm almost 50. At some point, you're like, I don't like being scared anymore. I want to go out with friends and have fun, but at this point, I want to come back with everybody. I don't want to be stressed.
No,
I don't want to be above.
There is an excitement of like hitting that line perfect, and there's like when you get above the big rapids on the wind, you're not like, ooh, okay, I got to get a little focused here.
No.
You're like, oh, it's all easy for me. I'm Zach Collier.
I've run the wind 100 times. It doesn't and I've run it with every time. I've run it with no.
Oh geez.
Aaron, I'm not saying
next trip.
Aaron, hold on.
Oh God.
I'm not saying I'm good. I'm perfect. I'm saying I don't get scared anymore. Like there's no fear. I'm going super confident on the wind. Now I could make a mistake.
I understand. I'm not saying fear. I'm saying adrenaline. Those are two different things.
There's no adrenaline on the wind. But I think you're right. I want to run some harder stuff still. But man,
when we raced together, was there adrenaline?
Yeah, but it's about the race.
But wasn't it fun?
I'm a competitive, so I like the competition. I don't know. Maybe
I thought it was really fun. I was like, man, this is the most pumped I've been on a river in a long time when we were racing together. I thought it was really fun.
Really fun. It was really fun.
It was exciting. It was like, you had to be really focused because there was a lot of new variables going on.
I think I don't miss those being scared times and the times when you're getting beat down in a hole. And I don't know how I'm getting out of this.
No. I'm not. That's not what I meant by adrenaline. I mean the adrenaline, like you're on a class 3 or a river that you've never seen before, and you come around the corner and you don't know the rapid. You're like, ooh, where do I go? What do I got to do?
I like boating like over there at a confident level. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I don't mean like terrifying. No, I don't believe in running. If you're running a river that's terrifying you probably shouldn't be on it. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with this 100%.
Yeah.
Play bum safety
talk.
Wow.
4 to 5. I would want to see your safety talk with bum sometime. 4 to 5 minutes.
I bet it's pretty amazing.
4 to 5 minutes.
I mean, you can make it 4 to 5 or 10 minutes and have it be all business. And you're right. It's an effective talk. People get the information. My style is different and Aaron's style is different. But if you said your safety talk was 20 minutes in all business and you covered every single thing, I'd be like, dude, we got to talk. But I mean,
I think there's something to be said for if there's something to be said for a 4 to 5 minute safety talk.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. Yeah, I love that. Love that. Drinking like. Well, do we have to have this talk again?
No, I maybe he's like asking that, like if you're in the group, you're hey, can we talk about drinking on the river? Maybe he's asking us in general.
I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and we can go from there. I'll start with the premise that in my opinion, there's a big drinking problem within private boating community and even within commercial guiding. But in private boating, it's happening on the river. Like people are drinking on the river unabashedly. And I want to be very clear. I'm no angel here. I've drank on the river before. I'm not standing on a bully pulpit here. I don't anymore most of the time. There's an exception here and there. I'll be like, occasionally I might have a beer if it's whatever, but I think that people are getting hammered, and I think it's irresponsible during the day on the river, and people shouldn't be drinking during the day. But I also think that beyond that, in camp between both private boaters and even commercial boaters, drinking has gotten out of control. And I'm not going to tell people what to do in their evenings, but I at least want to bring it up that, like, you're on vacation, drink, have fun, but it's not healthy. And
well, yeah. Can I chime in here a little bit too?
jump in.
Zach, I feel like more people get hurt drinking in camp than drinking on the river. Like, you're in a wilderness setting and you're getting hammered and you're stumbling.
Yeah, but more people die drinking on the river than die drinking in camp.
Totally agree. Not to say that it's cool to drink on the river, but I'm just saying, I think the drinking, I'm kind of supporting your thing about the drinking in camp is a problem. And it's a problem because you're also in the wilderness setting and like you get injured out there. It's one thing to fall in the front country and like, okay, whatever, your friend has to take you to the emergency room and you sit there for a few hours and you get your hand sewn up because you fell and broke your whatever, broke a bottle or something like that. But in the backcountry, it's a bigger deal. So I agree with you on it. And I think the question I would have is, what's your purpose in drinking on the river? Why is it fun to drink on the river?
I think people, I think about this a lot. I think part of it is because I think there's three reasons. One of them is because boating and drinking go hand in hand. It's just cultural, based on like fishing, not rafting, based on fishing and like water skiing. People are just used to boats and water and drinking. I think there's just a culture of that in our country and the world. Two, I think some people get so good at boating that they want to make class 3 harder. Like, oh, let me show that I can do this drunk, right? Like, if they're doing the Rogue, if they're like a class 5 boater running the Cherry Creek all the time, and they go the Rogue, they're like, oh, let me make this harder. I'll just get drunk and show that I can do this drunk even. I think that culture exists. And I think that also there's just like, it's part of, other people are doing it. It's become sort of like the thing to do. And nobody's really said, hey, we shouldn't be drinking during the day. That's my theory. But I think what's happened is there's just like in the culture of this sport, drinking has become a major part of it.
Has become?
It's worse. It's worse, Aaron. It's worse than it used to be.
You're just getting old. It's the
no,
same.
I am.
It's always been bad.
I'm the fuddy-duddy here for sure. I feel like I'm like the old guy who's the fuddy-duddy who's like, hey guys, don't drink. No, it's worse, Aaron. Like what I see is worse than what you used to do.
Well, I know. Let's be honest. You're talking about me, who I barely drink to begin with. But and as someone who never drank a lot and who doesn't drink at all now for other reasons, like, I don't think it's worse. I mean, I think there are, like, I know guides who drink on the river every day, and like who are sneaking it, and they're alcoholics and they do that every day. And so I feel like, but I've always known that there've always been those people around on commercial trips, even, who are day drinking.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
No, I mean, but I don't think that's unique to rafting, though. I think there's all, we know because it's the industry we're in. But like
if you
go work at Apple Computer, there's people who are day drinking there too.
Not the same. Not every day. Not like
yes.
Come on.
There's alcoholics everywhere, Zach.
There are, but I think it's worse in boating. And like if you're a ski patroller, you're not popping open a beer at 3 p.m. Where there's river guides who pop up a beer.
You're right. You know what they're doing? They're smoking weed. That's what the ski patrollers are doing.
Not at work.
Yes.
They're ski patrollers.
Yes, they are.
All right.
Come on.
Not as, okay, whatever. If they're working, I don't know, some other job. When you're a high school teacher, you're not drinking during the day. I don't know.
Oh, actually, this one of my drafting class teacher in junior high. He used to eat pickles all the time. He was always eating pickles, which is weird. Like, he'd go in his factory and come out eating a pickle. And later we learned on he was drinking during the day. And I had another one who'd go in and see me smoke cigarettes in this little room. And he'd come out and the room would reek of cigarettes. Oh, yeah, Zach, that happens.
Aaron, we don't need to hear about your high school experience right now.
Yeah, come on.
In drafting class.
I think, but my point is, I think alcoholism is a problem everywhere.
Okay. I think it's a bigger problem in the boating world. I think that, like,
okay.
I mean, I just see it at the put-ins and takeouts of day trips. You go to put in, there's people chugging beer, not chugging beers, but like drinking beers, drinking wine. Wine's been more of a thing lately. And then, like if I go mountain biking, that's not happening at the trailhead. And a takeout, everybody goes to the bar afterwards. I go mountain biking, I go home and eat protein and drink water. So I think that boating has just like, it's kind of become hand in hand. I mean, I see private boating all the time where there's paddle rafts or two boats where they have a cooler with them in the raft to drink beers all day. Right.
Well, I mean, isn't it like skiing's the same? I think
No,
it's these activities where you don't have to be physically fit to do. You can be super. This lazy outdoor sports are the ones where it's
okay.
It's more common.
Yeah. Anyway, so I maybe you're right, but anyway, to answer this question we were on for a while to talk about it, if that's what he wants, I'm going to say you shouldn't drink while you're on the river, and I think so like don't get hammered before the rapids. I'm gonna say don't drink before the rapids. Like don't drink on the river, and I'm gonna say just be thoughtful about it in camp and just be thoughtful about it because there are health issues with drinking so much. I don't know. I'm turning into an old person. Okay. This is awesome. Yep. Awesome. I use YouTube. What does that mean? You use YouTube?
I do too. We talked about this last week. Is like I told you that for my courses, or if I'm taking friends, I'll send like Ace has a nice safety talk that I've used. I send them the YouTube safety talk, and it's a really good. The Ace's safety talk, this one I have, is great. And I actually sent it to all the students in my course too before we take the course, because some of them have never been rafting before. So it's just easier after they've seen it to have certain conversations. Like I agree. The YouTube, and then they demonstrate how to pull yourself out from underneath the raft. It's not that long of a talk. I mean, it's it's like 5 minutes, maybe a little more, but it's just like it models everything. It shows it. It's good. It covers the basics, and it's better than you sitting there talking to them about it when they can actually see it happening with the raft, and they're demonstrating like how to pull people in the raft and how to paddle. And
so he sends YouTube videos. I have to say, after our last show, I started playing with YouTube a little bit and looked at some safety talks online, and some of them were not very good.
There's some terrible ones.
Yeah. So I'll be careful which ones you use. That Ace one sounds great. There's some where they were telling guests to expect a throwback from the raft. I was like, oh man. So there's some pretty bad ones out there too. Todd, thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate it. And as a reminder, if you're members, don't forget you can win this book if you tell us the 2 requirements for a river to be considered wild and scenic. The first member to answer, email Aaron. We'll announce the winner, and then email Aaron will send the book.
And no one's got it yet, right?
No one's got it yet. Nobody's even guessed.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. Non-river people standard safety talk. Yep, that makes sense. This is pretty smart.
Yeah, and Willie, that's kind of my thing too. And as we're getting there with Zach, with your little, you were kind of saying that too. Just give them the regular one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to do this where maybe there's some things that we cover commercially out of responsibility. So on a non-boater's private trip, you'll probably just say, hey, wear your PFD and helmet. Whereas a guide, you might have a more in-depth PPE talk, which I know you disagree with, Aaron. Wear your shoes, wear your wetsuit. It's cold water. I don't know.
Keep your pants on. Don't take your pants off in front of us.
But I think
drawstring.
I think the non-boaters private trip and the river guides one, or the more we talk about it, are more and more the same thing. Those 2 talks. There's not much in the river guide section. I had to really think hard about what would go there that would not go in the non-boaters private trip. So yeah. Crazy Bill. Hey, Crazy Bill, we need some of your video to review. You gonna send us some sick creature crap video so we can review it?
Yeah, stuff should be running.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And
actually, weed has gotten pretty. Yeah, it's amazing how
I'm not personally noticing that much, but I don't have a good. I mean, I don't really smoke weed, so I don't have a sense for it. But I'm hearing it's pretty bad. It is illegal on federal lands, so people I'm in Oregon, it should be legal. It's legal in the state of Oregon, but not legal on federal lands in Oregon. So if you're on Forest Service or BLM managed land, it's technically illegal. So the Rogue, Middle Fork, blah blah blah. Am I being too nerdy, Aaron?
No, a little bit, but not too much. A little bit, yeah, not badly.
Wait,
nice.
Crazy Bill, you did lower Meadow into the gully, or you're going to? Because I can't wait to hear about that.
That'll be neat to see.
Lower Meadow is pretty big. Chips for lunch. That's funny. Todd, we don't have the answer yet. Give us the answer. Your answer earlier was
you were close, but you didn't have it all.
Yes, it was.
There's another key. There's a key component. Basically, you said one part. You put an and. You put an and in something that was actually one aspect of it.
There's no and there. So
it's remarkably outstanding.
You said outstanding and remarkable.
Well, it's outstandingly remarkable.
Values. It's actually outstanding. One of the things is outstandingly remarkable values. That's one thing. And there's one. Did you Google it, Aaron, or do you just remember it?
I would love to say that I remembered it, but I'm embarrassed to say that. Like, oh yeah, that's right. It's so obvious. It's one of those things that's so obvious it's not obvious. I would say it's like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a river, you know. It's like to go rafting, you have to use a raft. Yes, you know, it's like
it's okay. It's not a trick question, Todd. I didn't mean it to be a trick question. It has to have at least one outstandingly remarkable value. So you wrote outstanding.
Yeah, you got it. And you got it. And free flowing.
So it has to have at least one outstandingly remarkable value and be a free flowing river. So it can't have a dam on it. So if it has a dam on it, it's not free flowing.
Well, it can't have a dam on the river. It just can't have a dam on that stretch of river.
You're right. It can't have it. Yeah. So let me rephrase. I'm saying this wrong. For a segment of a river to be considered wild and scenic, that segment has to have outstandingly remarkable values, and that segment has to be free flowing. It actually can't have dams though, Aaron. It can have low head dams.
Okay.
Like there's like a kind of a definition. Like it can't have like dams.
Free flow.
It's free flow.
Yeah.
Like a dam that impounds it is not free flowing. Where if it just goes over the low head dam, it's technically okay. So the section is free flowing. So like, even though it's impounded upstream, that part, because there's a dam upstream, that part is not eligible, but the part downstream, even though the flow is managed by the dam, the section of river is free flowing. So all wild and scenic rivers are that segment of the river is free flowing.
Sorry, it's true on the Tuolumne River as well, between below Hetch Hetchy and above Don Pedro. Same idea.
The Tuolumne is wild and scenic from the top of Mount Lyell, which is the highest point in Yosemite, all the way to Don Pedro, except for the small part that's Hetch Hetchy.
Yeah.
So it's wild and scenic. All that one segment that it forms up Hetch Hetchy is not wild and scenic. Every other segment of the river down to Don Pedro is wild and scenic. And I've never heard of the low hack. Yeah, the Nolichucky, again, it's dammed upstream. So like what we're saying is where the dam is, that segment. So wild and scenic, and the reason I want to do this contest so we can have these discussions. Wild and scenic doesn't designate the whole river wild and scenic. There's only a handful of rivers in the country where the entire thing is wild and scenic. Usually it's just a segment of it, a piece of it. And that segment has to be free flowing, which means there's no dam on that segment. So like the Nolichucky, there's a dam upstream, but the segment they want to protect as wild and scenic does not have a dam on it. So you win, Todd. And I put the email in there. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for having this discussion. Thanks for trying. You're the only one who even tried. The email is
cool book. You get that cool book on Wild and Scenic Rivers of
Oregon by Tim Palmer.
Just Rivers of Oregon. Does he talk about every single Wild and Scenic River of Oregon? Because that would have to be a huge book.
It's a huge book. Look at this. Lots of pictures. It's not about the Wild and Scenic Rivers of Oregon. It's about the rivers of Oregon.
Hold on.
So it's beyond just the wild and scenic ones.
Show that again. You know where you got you big.
The book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, great. Yeah, there it is.
Lots of pictures, lots of photography.
Yeah.
It's a great book about the rivers of Oregon. Like you can read about them and see beautiful photos. They give you a sense of this amazing state full of rivers. I don't really big anymore. I hate seeing myself big on the screen. Yeah, well, Todd, thanks for being a member and supporting our show. We appreciate it. And I think Denise has the idea. Maybe it's time. I think I'm done with all my agenda.
Are you sure? It's only been an hour and 49 minutes. We usually have.
That's all I got. We didn't go on enough tangents this time, Aaron. I think we did plenty of tangents.
No, you kept us on. You kept getting mad when I tried to pull us off topic. So
no, Aaron, I'm not getting mad when you're pulling us off topic. I get it. I think you know what made me mad today? This insistence you have that private boaters want to learn the paddle boat guide. I just think it's, I don't know.
It's super fun.
No, I get it's just I don't think there's that many private boaters who want to learn to paddle, who want to develop those skills. I think you, for some reason, think so, and I think we realize where that we are. I think there's maybe 10% or less that want to learn.
Okay,
there's way more people. I get that some private boaters want to learn to paddle boat and get better. I get that. I just think there aren't that many. I think it's pretty rare.
On the South Fork of the American, do you think you see more private paddle boaters or private rowers?
Paddle boaters. Because it's the South Fork. People memorize it.
Oh, God, we got the cards. Time to go. Oh, jeez.
It's the South Fork. I mean, that's what people do. They bring their friends up there on a hot day. They're not like, hey, let's go boat. Let's go run this river and that river and that river. They're like, hey, I bought a boat. I have PFDs. I was a guide. And most of those people were probably guides at one point. There were guides who are now taking their friends. They didn't or they took a guide school. They learned this thing and they take their friends. I wouldn't call them boaters, which I was almost afraid to say. I had to think about it as I was saying it, because they're boaters, but they're not boaters. Do you know what I mean? They're really good at the South Fork, and that's what they do because they live in Sacramento or the Bay Area, but they're not going out doing a bunch of stuff. They're not exploring, and they're in it to go have something to do on a hot day and be challenged and show their friends something really cool and be in nature. They're not doing it because they're boaters at heart. Is what I'm saying am I being rude?
No, I think you're just saying that they're kind of in a different category in your mind. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can fit more people in your boat with paddles.
Yep.
Yeah, but you got to find the people. That's the hard part. The problem with paddleboarding we've already talked about is you can't just go paddleboarding by yourself. You got to have friends. Win card tricks. No.
Wayne card tricks on a sweet boat.
Oh man, I almost did. I was gonna shoot a card across the screen, but I can't do it. All right, Aaron, let's close this thing down.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you guys all have a great New Year. All your comments greatly appreciated. If you haven't already done so, there we go. Zach, go ahead. Everywhere. Make yourself big. Go ahead.
No, I spilled the cards all over the thing.
Show it all. Yeah,
I can't.
Show yourself off.
I can't because I dropped them all.
Okay. Thank goodness. Anyways, if you haven't please like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notifications anytime anything new comes on. And then what was the other thing, Zach? Oh, we really appreciate all you guys who become members. That's been really helpful. Help fund Zach's knife purchasing.
More cards. I'll buy more cards.
Yeah, and buy more cards. Great. You guys have a great New Year and take care.
Hey, Aaron, you know what I want to tell you about today? I have one more thing I want to tell you about.
On the air?